I'm Kris Reynolds. I'm the Midwest Regional Director for American Farmland Trust. American Farmland Trust is a national nonprofit organization who works across the United States promoting sound farming practices, helping keep farmers on the land, and also protecting farmland. I've noticed a lot of different changes over the years since I've started implementing more conservation practices. I think one of the first times that I really kind of had an aha moment was when I was getting ready to go do a presentation on soil health. And I needed some soil samples, so I went out to my field. And of course I had procrastinated. I waited till the night before to get these soil samples ready, and of course it rained 2 inches that night. And so, the expectation was it's going to be kind of muddy out here. I went out into that field to get my soil samples and went out with my tennis shoes on, no mud on my shoes. All of that soil, all of that heavy rain had soaked into that soil, and took that soil sample and nice and moist all the way through. Went into another field that was a conventional tilled field, and it was muddy on the top. It was water standing in places, and I dug down to get a soil sample, and it was dry underneath. And it just made me realize that, how important water is to our systems, and we want to manage it the best way possible. We want to retain it when we can, and we want to make sure there's not too much of it there when we don't need it. And in times in the summer like this was, we want to make sure we're taking all of that water into the soil so that it's available for weeks. We may not get another rain. And when we have that soil slake off on the top, we know that a lot of that water is running off. 2019 was a really wet year, and there was a record amount of prevent planting that was taking place across the state and really across much of the Midwest. And that year, we had a lot of new farmers that had tried cover crops that year. Commodity prices were up, which farmers were willing to spend a little bit more money, try some new things. And every farmer I talked to, they were frustrated with that year. There'd been a lot of rain, a lot of heavy rainfall. And the one consistent message from all of those farmers was that where they had cover crops, they didn't see erosion. They didn't see that soil wash away like they did on their other fields. And so it was really, it was kind of at that point where you knew farmers were seeing differences in between fields that they had cover crops in and fields they didn't. And without having cover crops that year, they would have lost a lot more soil. Farmers are curious by nature, and they want to know more. I think, I've had several farmers in my area. The first year I did cover crops, they just thought I was planting wheat. And then they were really confused whenever I terminated it the following spring. And so it's having that conversation with them, them asking me, why are you planting cover crops? What are you looking for there? And answering their questions. And so, over the course of the last several years, now have, several neighbors that are using cover crops on their fields as well. Right here, we're sitting in the Hillsborough Lakes watershed. Just, maybe about 10 miles away is Water Supply Lake. So everything that I do here on this farm and pretty much all of my farming operation ends up in that lake as a water supply lake. So it's also supplying water for the rural water system, which supplies water for my neighbors. So, my hope is that I'm keeping nutrients out of that water. I'm keeping sediment out of that water, and I'm providing clean water and less runoff that's happening on my farm. So the benefits are great, especially, it's nice that we have this water supply lake. It provides a lot of recreational opportunities, but it also provides that source of water for a lot of residents here in the community.